Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for another edition of the Korea Housing Market Report, where we look at national home sales activity using the latest data collected across Canada. Joining me, as always, is Korea's senior economist, Sean Cathcart, and we have some interesting sales figures to report. All right, Sean, fresh off a quarterly report, some traveling to parts of Canada to speak with our members, and on to one of Korea's main events of the year. You don't have a full plate at all, eh?
Yeah, well, right now we're on the eve of our annual Pack Days event, where we're going to be in Ottawa speaking to MPs. And the theme once again this year is supply, supply, supply. We keep hammering on that because the only housing demand problem Canada is likely to face going forward is too much.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've been harping on for what seems like since we started doing these shows together. So yeah, supply remains at the top of discussions. In the meantime, how has a lack of supply and, of course, those rising interest rates affected Canadian real estate activity in September?
Yeah, well, up until very recently, and I know we've discussed this before in these videos and in person, higher borrowing costs have been disproportionately affecting the fixed rate space because bond markets get way out ahead of what the Bank of Canada is expected to do before they do it. Meaning buyers have been able to qualify more easily if they go with a variable rate mortgage, and they have been. Now, that gap in qualification criteria has been closing as the bank has been raising rates this year. And with the most recent hike in September, that finally slammed that door completely closed for borrowers. All which is to say, it wasn't a big surprise to see some additional softness on the sales side in September. They were down about 4% from August, which is the first acceleration in that downward trend since April, albeit not a big one. So I know I've been saying that we've been watching that sales slowdown look like it was sort of coming in for a landing. And I still think that, but the September result does cast a little bit of doubt, although 1 month doesn't make a trend.
No, definitely not. But something to pay attention to, especially as Canadians brace for at least one more rate hike before the end of the year. Okay, so this seems like a good point to talk about the new listing side of things and if there are any trends there of note.
There is. A big one is the fact that unlike most other market slowdowns that we have in our historical record going back 42 years, listings are not even close to piling up right now. In fact, they're still historically low, very low, and new listings each month are now also falling. So it seems with unemployment at or near record lows across the country and most existing owners owing far less, if anything, on their properties than the current market value is, and many, likely a majority, with low rates that were locked in before they really started shooting up back in March, it looks like sellers are perfectly content to play the waiting game at this point. There may have been a bit of distress selling earlier this year from people who bought at the peak and then were holding two homes and had to sell their existing one after market sentiment turned. But by and large, we're not seeing much of that at all, which leads me to and is related to the other trend still playing out as it has for the last few months, which is price declines from month to month are getting smaller and smaller.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, you make some really good points there. And of course, what's happening in one part of the country greatly differs from other markets. So let's get into a bit about that right now and talk about the MLS Home Price Index and what markets of note do we want to touch on right now?
Sure. Well, the overall national composite MLS HPI edged down 1.4% on a month-over-month basis in September 2022. Not a small decline historically, as has been the case for a while now. But like I said, smaller than in June, July, and August. So they're getting smaller. If you break it down regionally, most of the monthly declines up until fairly recently had been in markets across Ontario and to a lesser extent BC. The standout trend in August and September, which is a bit of a surprise, was quite a few of those Ontario markets saw price declines just get stopped in their tracks. They just stopped falling, mainly in the Greater Golden Horseshoe. And a few markets in Ontario, prices actually popped up between August and September, which is a really standout trend. I think Grey Bruce, Owen Sound, if I can remember off the top of my head, London, St. Thomas, Oakville, if you can believe that, which saw some of the biggest declines since February, popped up, and Ottawa. So that was really unexpected. If you look across the prairies, Edmonton and Winnipeg are seeing prices sag, whereas Calgary, Regina, Saskatoon are seeing prices hold on to all the gains that they made during COVID, which were less than in Ontario. So what goes up must come down, and what didn't go up as much is sort of holding steady. Quebec is similar, more expensive Montreal, prices are sagging. Quebec City holding on, sort of sliding sideways, I'd say. And on the East Coast, price softness that had been mostly in Halifax up until recently, we're seeing it show up in New Brunswick. We're seeing it show up in Newfoundland and Labrador. The one standout would be PI and St. John, which are still sliding sideways.
All right. Interesting. Yeah, quite a bit of information there to digest. So let's do a quick recap for our viewers here. National home sales dropped 4% month over month, temporarily bucking the soft landing trend. Something to keep an eye on there. The MLS HPI was down 1.4% on a month over month basis. Not small historically, but smaller than the previous 3 months. And prices were on the rise in some Ontario markets. That was an unexpected surprise, as you said. So we'll end the show there, Sean. Thanks again for taking the time to dissect what the latest data is showing us. Of course, there's lots more to unpack over on creastats.ca and our improved crea.ca. So go ahead and head there for some more detailed information. Until then, we'll see you next month. Canadian home sales were down 4% month over month in September, bucking the trend of what seemed to be a soft landing. Here's CREA's senior economist, Sean Cathcart, to tell us why that might be the case.
Up until very recently, higher borrowing costs have been disproportionately affecting the fixed rate mortgage space, meaning that borrowers could actually qualify for more of a loan if they went with a variable rate mortgage, and they did. But the September rate hike finally slammed the door on that one. So it was not a big surprise to see that home sales softened a bit further.
Want to learn more? Check out our monthly CREA housing market report videos on YouTube or head to creastats.ca.